Hey guys, tonight we're diving into something ancient, something clawed, feathered, furred, and weirdly familiar. You've got bones like a hunter, lungs like a long-distance predator, and eyes that once scanned forests like a hawk. But don't get too confident. Statistically, you wouldn't have lasted 10 minutes in the wild. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. The stare lingers. You feel it in your chest, like a drumbeat you've forgotten the rhythm to. The wolf isn't curious, it isn't judging, it's recognizing. And weirdly, so are you. There's this myth we carry, that humans are separate, elevated, rational. But let's be honest, you still flinch at thunder, your heart races when you hear footsteps behind you at night, and yes, you definitely growl when someone takes the last slice of pizza. That primal part of you, still there, just well-dressed and pretending to check email. Let's roll back 40,000 years. Paleolithic cave art in Chauvet, France shows lions, rhinos, and bears with astonishing accuracy. Not abstract symbols, no, these creatures are drawn with reverence, with understanding. The artists weren't painting enemies, they were painting kin. Historians still argue whether this early art was ritualistic, storytelling, or spiritual, but one thing's clear. They saw animals not just as food or threat, but as something deeply connected to their lives, a shared pulse under different skins. Fast forward to today. You stand in a zoo separated by reinforced glass. You tell yourself it's for safety, but the animal looks back and it doesn't see glass. It sees you, and your eyes meet again. A mainstream fact, humans and chimps share around 98.8% of their DNA. That's not a typo. You're basically cousins, like awkward family dinner level cousins. Still think your Saturday Netflix binge is more advanced than a gorilla meditating in the rain? Here's the fringe bit. Some researchers believe early humans learned hunting strategies by mimicking wolves. Pack behavior, tracking patterns, even the silent way of surrounding prey. You didn't just evolve beside animals, you evolved through them. And yet, somewhere along the way, you built walls. Literal and metaphorical. Domestication, civilization, clean versus wild. But the animal in you never left. Remember that stare? It lingers because the wolf sees something familiar. It knows hunger, fear, protectiveness. It knows how to listen when the world goes quiet. You used to know that too. There's this experiment, the still face test. Babies get anxious when their caregiver suddenly goes expressionless. You know who else reacts the same way? Dogs, elephants, even parrots. Emotional attunement? Not just a human thing, it's a life thing. Now here's where it gets weird. Some tribal cultures believe certain people can literally transform into animals, spiritually or physically. Skinwalkers, werewolves, shapeshifters. These aren't just ghost stories. They reflect a deeper truth, that the line between human and animal is blurry, intentionally so. You might not believe you could become a wolf, but ask yourself, when you're cornered, do you snarl or negotiate? When you're grieving, do you isolate or howl inside? When you fall in love, isn't there something feral in that too? This isn't about glorifying the animal or shaming the human. It's about noticing. You've evolved to pretend, but deep down, you still feel the pull. To the forest, the mountains, the eyes that don't blink, and the silence that doesn't apologize. So tonight, as you lay in your bed, phone dimmed and blankets tight, imagine that wolf again. Not as a threat, not as a pet, but as a mirror. The question isn't what makes you human. It's how much animal have you forgotten?
You're still in the woods, but now the sun's coming up, slanting golden through the trees. The wolf is gone, vanished like smoke. But something in you stayed behind with it. That echo of breath and heartbeat still thumps gently beneath your ribs. It's quieter now, but clearer. like you've tuned in to a station you didn't know existed. And here's the thing, you've always had this frequency, you just forgot how to listen. Let's rewind to when humans weren't apex predators yet. You weren't top of the food chain, not even close. You were soft, slow, and frankly, kind of ridiculous in the survival department. No claws, weak jaws, and your fur game? Laughable. So how did you survive? Empathy. No, seriously, not brute strength, not solo genius. What made you dangerous was your ability to read others. Eyes, posture, tone, the subtle, subconscious communication of mammalian emotion. You learned it from watching prey and predators. Here's your mainstream fact. Studies show that even newborn human infants can instinctively recognize facial expressions, fear, joy, anger. You come pre-wired for emotional decoding. But it gets wilder. Certain animals do the same with us. Take dogs, everyone's favorite furry therapists. They didn't just evolve beside humans, they evolved with us, developing muscles around their eyes to mimic human expressions. That's why they do that sad eyes thing so well. It's not an accident. It's co-evolution, literally facial expressions engineered for your species. Historians still argue whether dogs domesticated humans or vice versa, but it's clear we emotionally entangled long before the leash got involved. Now let's detour to a more fringe observation. In some hunter-gatherer cultures, people claim they can communicate with animals without speaking. Not Disney-style chit-chat, more like deep, intuitive understanding. They interpret a bird's silence as danger, a deer's stillness as permission. And honestly, if you've ever looked at your cat and just known it was planning to knock that glass off the table, you get the idea. You've lost that language, but traces remain. Let's walk through an average day. Someone bumps into you. Your brain scans their face in under a second, parsing whether it was an accident or aggression. That's mammal instinct, reading intent, anticipating motion. You inherited that from your animal ancestors, not your philosophy professor. And you still use it. In fact, you probably use it more with animals than people. Ever caught yourself whispering to a squirrel like it understands? Or slowing your breath near a nervous dog? That's not just cute behavior. That's ancient code running in your system. But let's go deeper. Emotional mirroring isn't limited to pets or forest creatures. It plays out in bigger, more complicated ways, like grief. Elephants mourn. They caress the bones of their dead, sometimes for hours. Whales sing elegies across oceans. Even magpies leave shiny trinkets by their fallen companions. That's not instinct. That's emotion. And if that doesn't give you pause, maybe nothing will. You, with your Spotify playlists and group chats, still grieve in silence sometimes, just like them. That still, aching recognition of absence shared across species. Now, there's this odd detail, quasi-myth, quasi-fact, that's always stuck with me. Some people swear their pets know when they're sick or dying. And sure, skeptics call it projection. But ask anyone who's experienced it, and you'll hear stories of dogs refusing to leave their owner's side, or cats curling up on hospital beds like grim little angels. Coincidence? Maybe. But you're listening to this at night, so let's allow the mystery to breathe a bit. What if animals don't just feel with us? What if they feel us? Science has no tidy answers. Historians still argue whether this connection is spiritual, biological, or just really good guesswork. But the feeling remains. That hum between you and something not you, yet strangely familiar. You ever notice how often animals show up in our dreams? And not just random bears or snakes, always meaningful, symbolic. The owl of wisdom, the lion of courage, the snake of transformation. These aren't just random associations. They're echoes of ancient knowledge systems that saw animals as facets of the self. Even in your language, the lines blur. He's a lone wolf. She's a mother hen. Don't be such a snake. You instinctively project human qualities onto animals and animal instincts onto humans. Because whether you admit it or not, you still feel like an animal sometimes. When you're afraid, when you're in love, when you're lost in music or dance.
Your breath is slower now. The forest has thinned into wide, open plains. A few trees still dot the landscape like scattered punctuation, but mostly it's just you, the wind, and that vast hush stretching toward the horizon. And then, movement. A group of gazelles flickers in and out of view. Their bodies are poetry in motion, alert, elegant, seemingly weightless as they bound across the grass. And for a second, you remember something that isn't yours. A chase, maybe. A pulse-quickening pursuit. Not because you're hungry, but because running was once about survival, not sport. You weren't always the observer. You were once part of that rhythm. Let's time jump. The moment early humans started to walk upright, big deal. It changed everything. Freed our hands, let us carry tools, babies, stories. But it also distanced us from the ground, from the four-legged rhythm that had once kept us in tune with the earth's tremors. You still feel it, though, in your feet when they hit packed dirt, in the bounce of a good run, in how your body understands impact and recoil without ever thinking. Mainstream fact incoming. Did you know that humans are one of the most efficient long-distance runners in the animal kingdom? Not the fastest, cheetahs smoke us, but our cooling system, sweating, upright gait, and endurance mean we can literally outlast almost any land animal in a marathon. Ancient hunters used this to persistence hunt, chasing prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. Yeah, you, the one ordering Uber Eats, you are biologically designed to chase antelope until they give up. But there's more. Animals don't just run, better or faster, they move with intention. Watch a lion stalking, a panther pacing. Every step is data. Terrain, wind, prey, cover. It's motion married to mindfulness. And that's something you've lost a bit, isn't it? You walk with earbuds in, eyes on screens. You've traded terrain awareness for GPS and sensory processing for push notifications. Fringe tidbit here. In Japan, some people practice a form of fox walking, a slow, near-silent gait inspired by animals. Hunters, trackers, and even therapists swear it reconnects the walker to a primal, attentive state. They claim it can reduce anxiety, sharpen focus, and, get this, help you hear the forest breathing. Historians still argue whether ancient humans developed these skills independently or by observing animals over generations. But it doesn't really matter. The lesson was learned. And somewhere, under all that modern insulation, you remember it too. Let's play with memory a second. Try walking barefoot, on grass, sand, dirt, not asphalt, not carpet. Feel the textures, the warmth or chill. Your feet will hesitate at first, soft from years of rubber soles, but eventually they'll start to read again. Pebbles, twigs, moss, signals. That's not nostalgia, that's biology. You're wired to learn the land like a second skin. And guess what? So are elephants. They can detect distant storms through vibrations in the ground. Their feet become seismic sensors. Entire herds have been seen moving hours before the sky darkens. They don't know, they feel. You used to have that. Maybe you still do. Now let's shift from the ground to posture. Ever noticed how animals carry their emotions in their bodies? A confident gorilla walks like royalty. A stressed horse flicks its tail, twitches, sidesteps. You do the same. Slumped shoulders, hunched back, quick steps. Your body screams what your words never will. And animals, they read you better than most people can. There's this phenomenon, barely studied but deeply believed, called empathic posture mirroring. Therapy dogs, for instance, sometimes physically mimic the behavior of anxious children to soothe them. It's not trained, it just happens. A kind of unspoken alignment. And here's a thought twist. What if you used your posture to talk back? Try it. Tomorrow, stand tall. Not fake confidence, just a grounded, relaxed kind of presence. See how animals react. Birds linger, dogs wag, even squirrels might pause before bolting. They're reading you, always. Because, truth bomb, you're never really alone. Even in cities, surrounded by glass and steel, pigeons and rats and cats and crows are watching, listening, judging you only a little. Okay, the cat is absolutely judging you, but affectionately. This brings us to movement as ritual. Think of tribal dance. You cradle the delicate rhythm of daily survival, and somewhere in the noise, a connection begins to pulse, ancient and persistent. Inside the flickering edges of your experience, you start to see it, that animal spark. You know the one, a restless whisper deep in your ribs that activates when something doesn't feel right. It's not logic, it's older than logic. It's the same force that tells a rabbit when to run or a bird when to migrate. And whether you're sipping overpriced coffee in a glass tower or wiping grime off your palms in a dusty workshop, you felt it. You've obeyed it. It's instinct. Now, don't roll your eyes just yet. You might be thinking, instinct? You mean like that primal nonsense we're supposed to have grown out of? But hold on. Scientists still debate where the line is, where your prefrontal cortex stops and your reptilian brain kicks in. Some say we've evolved beyond instinct into a world of rational behavior. Others argue we've just slapped better packaging on our animal drives. Historians have long argued whether early human survival hinged more on learned strategy or gut reaction. But think about it. You don't flinch from a wasp because you read about it, you just do. That's inherited caution, an old gift from your great-great-whatever who didn't get stung and lived to pass down the flinch. Meanwhile, your cat? Watch her pause mid-stretch and freeze, eyes wide, when a distant sound rustles. She doesn't know what it is, but she knows. It's the same knowing, the same pattern recognition fired by millennia of not wanting to die. And you read Yelp reviews and still somehow walk into that suspicious restaurant. So maybe the cat's ahead on this one. Still, instinct in humans doesn't just show up as fear. Ever had a bad vibe about a person, even when they were smiling? That's your nervous system checking its internal database, posture, voice tone, eye shape, cataloged, compared, rejected, fast. No spreadsheet required. The military knows this. Fighter pilots train so that their instinct becomes trained instinct, reflex with layers of memory stacked beneath it. And in the wild, lions don't huddle in workshops analyzing prey trajectories, they just go. But here's the kicker. Animals rarely doubt their instincts. You do, constantly. You second-guess, overanalyze, poll every friend group. Your dog? He smells smoke, he's gone. You smell smoke, and you check Google. If fire's real, you get 5 seconds before it wins. That's why your ancestors survived long enough to invent insurance. And it's not just about survival. Ever felt drawn to someone before they spoke? Before your brain joined the party, your body already leaned forward. Pupils widened, blood rushed. That's not poetry, it's biology. You're responding like a wolf recognizing a potential mate. Not romantic maybe, but honest. Of course, we've built societies that train us to suppress instinct. Kids sit in rows for hours. Workers wait for the clock. We teach them to ignore hunger, fatigue, fear. And slowly, many forget how to listen. But instinct isn't gone, just quiet. Even in sleep, you twitch when your dreams turn sharp. Even now, you know when someone's watching you, before you see them. Explain it with micro cues, sure, but still, you know. And then there's intuition, the upgraded cousin of instinct. Some scientists say it's the subconscious processing data faster than you can name it. Others think it's emotional memory manifesting. But to you, it feels like knowing without knowing why. And when it's right, it's really right. Animals do this all the time. Birds predicting storms. Dogs sensing seizures, elephants rumbling a warning you can't hear. You're not separate from that. You're part of that same network. You've just drowned it in Wi-Fi and notifications. Instinct is your animal birthright. And sometimes, in those rare moments when the noise clears, when your breath slows and your spine tingles, you can feel it again. The alertness, the certainty, the quiet pulse that says, yes, this is the way. You're not just a brain with shoes. You're a living archive of everything that crawled, clawed, and sprinted before you. And instinct, that's your direct line to all of it. So maybe next time you hesitate, you stop scrolling. You go still. You listen. And if you're lucky, you'll know.